In October 2004, a 41-year-old woman was found dead in her home in rural Wisconsin. She had been stabbed multiple times. Police had very few leads. No witnesses, no security footage, no obvious motive. 6 weeks later, they made an arrest. His name was Dr. Gordon Greg Malloy. He was the woman's former boyfriend. He claimed he was innocent. A neighbor had alibied him, but the jury did not believe it. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. 14 years later, DNA evidence would prove what Greg Malloy had been saying all along. He did not do it. This is the story of a wrongful conviction, and the justice that finally came. Christine Wismore was 41 years old. She lived alone in a farmhouse outside of Sparta, Wisconsin. She worked as a bookkeeper at a local dairy farm. Her neighbors described her as quiet, private, and well-liked. On October 16, 2004, her sister stopped by after being unable to reach Christine for 2 days. She found her dead on the kitchen floor. The autopsy revealed Christine had been stabbed 19 times. There were defensive wounds on her hands and arms. She had fought back. The murder weapon was never recovered. Police canvassed the area. No witnesses came forward. No security cameras. No signs of forced entry. It looked like someone she knew had done this. 6 weeks later, on December 1, 2004, police arrested Dr. Gregory Malloy. Greg was a local veterinarian. He had dated Christine on and off for about 2 years, but they had broken up several months before her murder. Still, police considered him a person of interest. And then, according to court records, a witness came forward. A woman named Sherry McDonough told police that Greg had confessed to her. She said he described the murder in specific detail. Details that only someone who was there would know. Greg was charged with first-degree intentional homicide. At his bond hearing, a neighbor testified that Greg had been at a community meeting at the exact time of the murder, providing an alibi. But the prosecution dismissed this, arguing the neighbor was mistaken. Greg maintained his innocence. He said he had no idea who killed Christine. The trial took place in March 2006. The case hinged almost entirely on the testimony of Sherry McDonough. She told the jury that Greg had confessed to her in a phone call and later in a face-to-face conversation. She described his demeanor as calm. She said he told her Christine had gotten what was coming to her. The defense attacked McDonough's credibility. They revealed she had a criminal record for theft and fraud. They pointed out inconsistencies between her early statements to police and her trial testimony. They argued she was lying. The neighbor alibi testimony was presented, but the jury clearly did not find it persuasive. After 2 weeks of testimony and less than 2 days of deliberation, the jury found Greg Malloy guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For 14 years, Greg Malloy fought to have his case reopened. His attorneys filed appeals. All were denied. Then, in 2018, a non-profit organization called the Innocence Project took on his case. They requested DNA testing on evidence recovered from Christine's fingernails, her clothing, and the murder weapon. Evidence that had never been tested using modern forensic methods. In February 2018, the results came back. The DNA belonged to a man named Daniel Ramsbottom, a convicted felon with a history of violent crimes who had lived in the same county at the time of Christine Wismore's murder. He had died in prison in 2015, serving time for an unrelated conviction. Greg Malloy had never met this man. He had never been a suspect. Based on the new DNA evidence, Greg Malloy's conviction was vacated on August 14, 2018. He was released after serving 14 years for a crime he did not commit. The state of Wisconsin declined to retry him. Sherry McDonough was never charged with perjury, despite evidence suggesting she had fabricated her testimony. Prosecutors cited difficulties in proving her deception beyond a reasonable doubt. Greg Malloy filed a civil lawsuit against the state. He was awarded $7.5 million in compensation. Christine Wismore's murder remains officially unsolved, though investigators believe Daniel Ramsbottom was responsible. Case closed for one man. The other remains beyond the reach of justice.